Okay, we're going to continue our example here by adding a second department. And here's the process costing example that we already completed. And so these figures should look familiar to you. And here's the information for the second department. And I'm going to just start doing my calculations here. We're given the beginning inventory work in process. Again, we're given the percentage of completion with regards to materials and conversion costs. But because we're using the average method, we don't need to know the percentage of completion of beginning inventory. The average method just uses the percentage of completion of ending inventory. There are other methods like the first in, first out method that require the beginning inventory percentages to be used in the calculation. But the most popular method is the weighted average method, and that's the one that we're going to use here. So let's look at our unit reconciliation schedule. We've got beginning inventory work in process, 2,500 units, and then it says units started, we've got a question mark there. Well, the units started were the units that were transferred out of the previous department. They're transferred from mixing to packaging. So my units started are these 10,000 units right here that were transferred out. Okay, so my total units to account for, 12,500. I want to account for all 12,500. The ending inventory work in process is 500 units. And so we can back into the units transferred out. In this case, they'd be transferred to finished goods if packaging is our last department. Okay, next we're going to do our equivalent unit calculations. You notice I've got a third category here, TI. That stands for transferred in. So we're going to have a separate category for transferred in costs in addition to material costs and conversion costs. Okay, so we've got my ending inventory work in process is 100% complete as far as material, 50% complete as far as conversion costs. Now the transferred in component, how complete is it? Well, it's always 100% complete because we're talking about how complete it is with regards to the previous departments. So of these 12,000 units transferred out, we've got 12,000 units of transferred in component, 12,000 units of material component, and 12,000 units of conversion cost component. Now the ending inventory work in process, those 500 units, those 500 units are 100% complete as far as materials, and 500 units are 50% complete with regards to conversion cost. Well, they're always 100% complete as far as transferred in costs. The ending inventory work in process, again, how complete are those 500 units with regards to the mixing department? They're 100% complete. Okay, so this column here for transferred in column is always 100%. The units transferred out, this row here is always 100%. Okay, it's the ending inventory work in process that we're concerned about the percentage of completion. All right. Okay, next we have to organize our costs to account for. And the beginning inventory work in process, that's given to us right here. Here we've got the beginning inventory work in process broken down into 4 categories: direct material, direct labor, manufacturing overhead, and also transferred in costs. So I'll just transfer those down here. Transferred in costs are 29,000. The material costs and beginning inventory work in process are 9,000. And you remember conversion costs are a total of direct labor cost plus the manufacturing costs. Okay. So I'll just total that across. That's a total of my beginning inventory work in process, total of those 4. And then the costs added. Okay. Well, what costs were transferred in? Well, just think, where are those costs coming from? They're coming from the previous department. So the cost transferred out of mixing is what's going to be transferred in to packaging. So there's my 116,000. And total material cost added during this month is 25,000. And the conversion costs added, my direct labor and my manufacturing overhead. And I'll total my costs added across 161.4, and then I'll just total each category. For material, transferred in, material, conversion costs, and total costs. Okay. Next, I'm going to calculate my cost per equivalent unit. Before I do that, I have to total these up here. So here's my equivalent units of material, my equivalent units of transferred in cost, material, which happens to be the same, and conversion cost. So next I'll calculate my cost per equivalent unit for each component. Cost per equivalent unit for transferred in cost, for material, for conversion cost, and I'll have to add these to get the total. Okay. Now I'm letting these decimals run on, so to speak. I'm not rounding anything. Now you can change the format. This is just changing what you see, but it's not changing the underlying formulas. Okay. I may be off screen here going up to the, no, I'm not off screen. So this just changes the format. It does not change the underlying formulas. Okay. Now, the cost to account for. I've got my units transferred out. Okay, so I've got 12,000 units transferred out, I believe. And my cost, and multiply that together. There's what's going out. Okay, that's what's going from packaging to costs of goods sold. Okay, excuse me, from packaging to finished goods inventory. All right. And then my ending inventory work in process. Again, I'll go up here to my equivalent units. I got 500 equivalent units of transferred in cost, 500 equivalent units of material, and 250 equivalent units of conversion costs. Then I'll just bring down my cost per equivalent unit, transferred in cost, material, and conversion costs. All right. Next, I'll just multiply these. Okay, and I'll total these three. Okay, so this is what's being transferred out to finished goods. This is what's in ending inventory. So my total cost to account for, $213,600. Now I just want to mention something about rounding. I'm going to go over to my completed page here where I've got a note. Since this information here, the cost of units transferred out, right, that's going from one to finished goods inventory, okay? And this is my ending inventory work in process, okay? That's part of your external financial statements, and that needs to be rounded to the nearest penny, okay? If you're using US dollars. And I did round these. I used a round function here in Excel. You can see it right up there. I used a round function in Excel to round that to the nearest penny 2 decimal places, and also this here. Now in this case, it didn't make any difference. There was no rounding error. And this is something I'm not really going to worry about. You won't have to worry about in class, especially in a principles class. But if you think about it, part of the external financial statements, you have to round things to the nearest penny, things that are going out on those financial statements. And sometimes there would be a rounding error. And normally we would just close that to cost of goods sold. Okay. All right, that takes care of this problem.